This webinar presentation is about the San Joaquin County Multi-Species Habitat Conservation and Open Space Plan administered by SJCOG, Inc., a 501c3 entity under the San Joaquin Council of Governments. It will be an overview of the Habitat Plan and the role of SJCOG, Inc. as administrators. The key purpose of the countywide Habitat Plan is to provide a balance between development and protections of species within San Joaquin County. Origination of the voluntary plan was brought about by the development community and local policymakers in 1994 to establish local control. From 1994, it took 7 years, 4 months, and 7 days to complete the process and get the plan adopted by all parties involved in crafting it. The SJMSCP is a 50-year plan from 2001 to 2051 for the voluntary participation of projects. The plan can be extended beyond 2051 with supplemental permitting if desired. The plan has a federal Section 10 permit and a state 2081 permit issued for conversion of 109,302 acres of habitat. That habitat is detailed in 54 habitat classifications like valley grasslands, agriculture, riparian, vernal pool, and multipurpose habitat types, to name a few. To allow the streamlined processing and conversion of habitat, the SJMSCP assumes presence of species to be there or use the habitat within the plan term. That allows for no regulatory, black box, or varying answers because the process is known going in for everyone. Swainson hawk, great egret, western pond turtle, delta smelt, showy madia, giant garter snake, rose mallow, osprey, San Joaquin kit fox, and California tiger salamander. These are a few of the 97 species covered under the SJMSCP, which range from listed endangered, threatened, species of concern, and species of regional importance. SJCOG, Inc. is the administrator of the plan. Why is that? The San Joaquin Council of Governments was an established joint powers authority with no land use authority. With that important factor, it allowed for an impartial decision-making body to be used that all parties could trust with overseeing the habitat plan. Under the umbrella of the San Joaquin Council of Governments, a nonprofit entity called SJCOG, Inc. was created as a 501c3 to hold the easements under the permits for better implementation of the conservation strategy. There's a tremendous amount of overlap and of interactions between SJCOG, Inc. with all parties involved with the habitat plan. It works much better with a non-biased entity working collaboratively with everybody. The administrator's role is to direct traffic, directing many moving parts with the county, cities, permitting, developers, and others. Consensus building. SJCOG, Inc. works to keep all on the same page toward the plan's success. Auditors review and ensure accuracy of the details for the reporting of the plan. Watchdogs to ensure all parties are meeting their obligations. And problem solvers. The HCP is a living document, but not perfect. Development in the habitat plan. Shown is what the plan provides for development projects, with the protections and guarantees of the SJMSCP while meeting the goals of permits. Landscape being converted to something else. Developer is a generic term for anyone who usurps land and changes the landscape. Development voluntarily participates in the SJMSCP to save time and money as opposed to working through the local planning departments to navigate the environmental process with individual regulatory agencies like U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and California Department of Fish and Wildlife. The SJMSCP satisfies the following needs: Federal Endangered Species Act, California Endangered Species Act, National Environmental Protection Act, California Environmental Quality Act, Federal Migratory Bird Treaty Act, and Native Plant Protection Act. Two aspects of the habitat plan include biological requirements to minimize any potential taking of species on site during construction activities, and mitigation requirements for loss of that habitat. Established at the beginning of the plan, each incorporated city has agreed maps based on the projected growth areas. Also, specific areas of San Joaquin County have agreed upon maps known as communities like Woodbridge, Linden, and Mountain House, to name a few. The projects in other unincorporated areas of San Joaquin County are viewed on a project-by-project basis for impacts to establish vegetation mapping for the covered activities to be provided. Here's an example of the most common species and construction constraints projects would follow. With coordination between the habitat plan and the developer, the projects can proceed forward with protections. The current year development fee, 2022 shown here, were adopted for January 1 to December 31 of that respective year. The SJMSCP uses a blended fee plan. All the fees are combined to spread over all the fee impacts among development. It's primarily driven by row and field crop agricultural lands as being the most impacted. Original fees adopted erroneously assumed receiving 33% of funding to offset the fee portions from what we called soft money, federal, state, or private grants. That never happened. In 2006, a funding shortfall concern was brought out by permitting, which led to a one-year fee analysis update process to provide a sustainable model of the SJMSCP. A subcommittee comprised of the BIA, local jurisdictions, permitting, conservation, legal, and staff tackled the issue. 2007 to present, the fee analysis model established has been followed. It provides stability based on agricultural land values in San Joaquin County and real costs associated with the SJMSCP. The model is reviewed every 4 to 5 years by the Financial Subcommittee. Annually, the financial model is calculated using 24 months of agricultural comparable land sales on the market within San Joaquin County fitting the prescribed criteria. The annual update begins in June or July and usually runs through August or September, and then is brought to the SJCOG Inc. board for approval, then out to jurisdictions to adopt. A financial analysis is done yearly, but the financial analysis model is updated every 4 to 5 years to ensure it is accurate, fully funded, and current. Preserves under the habitat plan. Common types of protected habitat lands are grasslands, agricultural row field crop and irrigated pasture, vernal pool, riparian, and waterways. The plan can only work with willing sellers to secure preserves and has no eminent domain capabilities. Reported in 2021 annual report, the SJMSCP holds over 20,000 acres of land in fee title ownership or conservation easement for protected lands under the permits. Again, the plan can only work with willing sellers. One major conservation strategy is connectivity to other plant preserves and protected lands in San Joaquin County and surrounding counties. The SJMSCP is required to enhance up to 10% of lands under the plan. Some enhancements are passive, like pesticide and herbicide restrictions. Others are more active, like invasive species removal, to full restoration projects. All enhancements are vetted with the landowner to ensure cooperation for benefit of the species while not interfering with the existing agricultural practices. Here's the El Rio Preserve, which is the first SJMSCP Valley Elderberry Longhorned Beetle, also known as VELB, and a riparian restoration site along the McCollum River in the northern part of the county. On this 2007 aerial image of the site, approximately 7 acres of vineyard were removed to restore the existing riparian zone. The restoration consisted of elderberry plants and associated plantings to expand the riparian zone to a full 25.8 acres along the river. A 2009 aerial shows the restoration site and the riparian expansion zone. The Nakagawa Preserve along the McCollum River is an agricultural and riparian restoration project. the land has 200 acres of row crop protected and a restoration area of 60 acres of riparian habitat on the southern tip. Depicted here in the 2013 aerial of the site are the respective areas. A close-up of the southern tip, the restoration area, and riparian edge along the river is shown here in a 2020 aerial. The SJMSCP permits have an annual reporting requirement by the administrator covering activities of January 1 through December 31 of each year, and it's related to conversion activities, conservation activities, funding, and implementation matters. Annual reports are due out to both permitting agencies by April 1st of each year. The reporting has grown over the years from 2001 to the current reporting year. The annual reports are taken to the various committees for recommendation, information, and ultimately approval by the SJCOG Inc. Board to release to the permitting agencies. The reports are available online or by request electronically. Our staff is available to assist with any habitat-related matters or questions. The contact information for staff is provided here as well as online. Please feel free to contact us at any time.